So I'm proud to introduce my mentor, Eddy Mayén. He was the first OLC president, and he's right now Director of International Business Development and Protocol for the state of New Jersey, and he's from Guatemala. He also He also graduated from Bridgewater Raritan High School, and here's Eddy Mayén.
Hi, everyone. Did you want me up here, or did you? Does it matter? Okay. Was somebody else coming up with me? Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you? I'll sit over here so we can start. Anyone tell a little bit about ourselves? Just hang on. Is it on now? Okay. Everybody here okay? So we'll do a couple of minutes. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then Jose will tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll open up to Q&A. Yes, or are you doing the Q&A?
I'll be the moderator.
Oh, excellent. Good. So is it okay? Can I start off, tell you a little bit about me? And I have to say, this is exciting because I just asked Eva. I believe this is the largest CRECER group. Is that correct? Yep. Wow. Oh, yeah. Just a show of hands, how many people used to be in our CRECER alum in the audience that, were in the program before? Just about everybody. So, and then I heard some Guatemalans, son los chapinos. Chapín, eso! But yeah, faltó uno. So I remember sitting in your seat. That's, when I was in the Army, when I got out of the Army, I came into Raritan Valley, and one of the college days, they happened to have a table outside, and Eva was behind the table, and she's just like, oye, mira! She's like, ven pa' acá. And I got recruited, and I got the bug. And I got recruited. I was the president of the club, then student government president. It was a fantastic time here at Raritan Valley. There's some incredible professors. There's great programming, but you make lifelong friendships here. Then I went on. I'm the director of international trade, international business development, and protocol for the state of New Jersey. What does that mean? That means that I help companies in New Jersey sell their goods and services to foreign lands. And I'm telling you, right now we have a trade mission going to Colombia, Japan, Alaska. We have a trade mission going to Hong Kong, Korea, Panama, Guatemala, Mexico. We are very, very active in the state. And all I can tell you is that you're going to get older with or without your education. So if education is not a priority for you, it really should be. And anything that you put in your mind, anything, because I see the sign up here, it says dream big. The only thing I would say is dream bigger than that. Dream as big as you want, because all your mind knows how to do is create solutions. So if you just give it a situation, it will find a way. So your mind is made to solve things. And if you listen to what's in your heart, not in anybody else's, but in your heart, because your heart knows. There's no such thing as a bad heart. Ay, ese hombre tiene el corazón malo. Does not exist, right? If you need a heart and the worst, and I could go find the worst person and tell you that's the only heart we got, you'll take it. Because there's no such thing as a bad heart. Your heart knows what it wants, but you have to listen to it. And when you do, put that idea in your head, and you could do anything you want. And in this country, even better. So let me stop there for a minute, and we'll do some Q&A, but go ahead and introduce, if it's not on yet.
All right. It's all good. All right, so how you guys doing? My name is José Salazar. I'm the Enrollment Service Specialist here at Raritan Valley Community College. if I move around or I'm fidgety, as I always get nervous before at the start of every talk, and I'm usually standing up so I can move around and get the anxiety out of me, but right now I'm sitting down, so you guys got to bear with me. Just to introduce myself, I'm Costa Rican. There's usually not that many of you guys here. Ticos, good job, all right. So I came here when I was 8 years old. I was born and raised over there, and it's been a roller coaster ride ever since I made it to this country. When I was, a youngin', I used to live in the Boundbrook apartments. Being an illegal immigrant, whenever they say La Migra was coming, you went and hide. The whole town, it was like a ghost town over there. Right? Nobody came out. So I grew up over there. I went to middle school and high school over there, and I was not a good student. I was piss poor grades. All I ever wanted to do was play sports and girls. If you weren't one of the two, I wasn't gonna hang out with you. So coming to RVCC was a big change for me. I had aspirations of making it to a big school for basketball and soccer, and I had a couple scholarships. A couple of those were taken away after I ended up punching a coach, and then they found out about it. It was videotaped, and my scholarships went away. And then the other ones went away when they found out that I was illegal. They couldn't give scholarships to me because I was illegal. So at that point, I started working at a factory with my father. It was almost like a sweatshop for a whole summer just to be able to pay for my first semester here at RVCC. So I worked there Monday through Sunday. My dad went in at 6 o'clock. I would get out at 4. He would get out at 6 again, 12-hour, 10-hour days, whatever it was. 9 o'clock in the morning. It was 115 degrees in the factory. It was crazy. But I made my money to come here for the first semester. Why? I don't know, because I was awful at school again. So once I got here, I got involved with the basketball team. I was playing for the basketball team, became captain of the team. And after my first semester, for the first time ever, I did well in my classes. I got involved, and since I was involved, I was here on campus more often, and I had a 3.2 GPA, which wasn't the best, but it was good enough. Because of that, I was able to get a scholarship for my grades and sports and was able to get paid everything from here on out. Now, mind you, if I didn't get that scholarship, I would have never been back here for my second semester because I couldn't work as much as I worked during the summer for my first semester. So if it wasn't for that, I would have never been back here. So what I try to always tell everybody when I have these talks is, even at the end of the day when you're sitting with mom and dad and they're looking at you, in your eyes, and they have, they're teary-eyed, like, listen, we can't, like, we don't have money to send you. You know what I mean? And that breaks your heart, not because you can't go, but because you feel bad that they can't give you what they want to give you. So at that time, you have to figure it out for yourself. Like, you know what? I'm going to make the best that I can be, not only for myself, but for my parents. My number one goal in life is to be able to give my parents everything back that they never had. They came to this country when they were young. They spend their entire lives here while their whole family and friends were having a good time down there, because everybody always thinks, oh, when you come to this country, it's so much better. A lot of times the people that stay down there have a lot better life than your parents do because your parents are breaking their butt for you. So when my whole aspiration in life is to be able to give that back to my parents. And my biggest fear in life is to not be able to give it back to them before they die. So the earlier you guys get started, the more focused you get, the faster you're going to get there. I'm huge on motivational speaking because I love always being motivated. You have to have a desire and a passion to go above and beyond and make something out of yourselves. Now, as Hispanics, it's difficult sometimes because you don't have all the resources that a lot of other people do, okay? I remember when I used to walk into class here at RVCC, I would never have a black or Hispanic professor until I think I had one professor, Professor Tucker, who was my English teacher, and that was the only one I ever had here. And I had over 22 professors, okay? When I went into class, the majority of the students sitting around me were Caucasian. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of my friends are Caucasian, but at the same time, you feel a little out of place because you're not used to the ropes. My parents didn't go to college. So therefore, first time applying for the FAFSA. I don't know why I applied for the FAFSA. I was illegal. It's not like they were going to give me any money. But so first time applying for the FAFSA. My parents didn't know what to do. My dad can't even read English. So my mom was the one sitting there with me, hour and a half, 2 hours. It was crazy. It was chaos on that thing. Second thing, trying to get registered for classes, coming to orientations, coming to everything. My parents never came with me for any of this stuff because they didn't know about it, so they felt embarrassed. So my first orientation, I came here. The first time I applied, I came here. Even when I went to Montclair State and I finished over there, I did everything by myself. The only thing my parents have ever had to come to were my graduations, and that's the most important thing. And I believe that every single one of you guys can graduate, because if I can do it, being a 1.0 student in high school, you guys can do it. I was involved in the worst of the worst, hanging out with the wrong people.
You were number one in high school?
Huh?
You were number one?
Yeah.
Or 1.0?
1.0.
Oh, okay.
So I was a 1.0 average. It was the worst. So Even to this day, I still have girly handwriting because I used to have girls make my handwriting, so I had to have the same handwriting when I did my test. So that's just a little bit about me. You guys feel free to ask as many questions as possible. As I'm saying, if you guys do decide to come here to RVCC, I'm right down there in the admissions office. I have a basketball hoop in the back. If one of you guys thinks you guys can ball with me, we'll go best out of 3. If you win, I'll buy you lunch, but nobody's beating me yet. All right, so thank you guys.
So, good morning, everyone. Just to introduce myself very quickly, I'm going to help moderate the discussion today with our speakers. My name is David Ross. I'm the director of the first-year program, so I oversee orientation and advising for all the new students that come into the college. And I remember working with José when he was a student. He was actually a pioneer in helping us get students more involved with peer mentorship and helping out when they were first coming into the program. So I think one of the things to also echo what Mr. Mayén said is that you should definitely dream bigger. One of the things that you should try and foster in yourselves is a sense of curiosity, to figure things out, to find out new ideas, to figure out what you can learn from other people who have already sort of been down the path. And for the purpose of today's discussion, I encourage you to ask questions of both of the gentlemen who, thank you very much for volunteering your time today, to just find out what it is that helped them persevere and to make it to where they are today, because each one of you could actually end up in the same position with hard work and big dreams. So I want to thank you both again for coming. And at this time, we're going to open it up for questions. Nicole has a microphone just in case we need some amplification, because we have a very large group. So at this time, feel free to ask any questions.
Come on, guys. Don't be shy. Any questions? Yeah.
Question in the back.
So what's your name?
My name is Dan Mobo. I'm currently at this school right now. I have a question. I have more of a kind of a statement also. Throughout my whole life, I've been learning that everyone deserves a second chance, no matter what they've been through in their past, whether they've done right or wrong. And but the thing is, second chances are hard to come by. How would you go by your second chance in education?
I'm sorry, I was writing your name down.
Hey.
But say it again. Hold it closer to your. Go ahead.
I was saying how I've learned throughout my whole life how no matter what, everyone deserves a second chance, whether they messed up or not. But second chances are hard to come by these days. How would you go by getting your second chance in education?
Okay. You want to go first? Or was that to me or to both of us or to the panel?
It's to both of you guys.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So second chances, man, I wish I could take so many things back that I did throughout high school, pay more attention. And I know it all, when I was you guys, I would come to these things just so I could get out of high school. So when I hear someone say it, sounds like corny, when I say it, because it's just man, he's a buster. You know what I mean? So, but if I could, I would go back and do so many different things. I would really pay attention to my education a lot more. My senior year, I didn't take math because I was actually pretty decent at math. That was the only class I was okay in. So by junior year, I was done with math, so I didn't take one my senior year. I came to RVCC and I took my placement test. And since I hadn't seen math in a year and a half, I did awful. I did the worst of the worst that you could do in math here. And it just brought me back because I'm a business major. And I actually graduated with my bachelor's in finance, and I'm getting my master's in management. So all I do is math. But just because I didn't pay attention to the little things, I spent more money than I had to on developmental math courses. And at the same time, I had to almost not make it into the business schools that I applied to because they have a certain math requirement. So if I would have just pushed myself and taken that math senior year, I would have been able to just start off at a regular college level course and finish my courses faster, applied to 4-year schools faster, and at the same time save some more money. But I mean, second chances, right now you guys are so young that you don't need them yet because most of your big time decisions are about to come up. So just make sure you guys make the right ones. Instead of being like me who makes a split decision like a second, take a couple minutes, take a couple days, take a couple weeks to actually understand what you're about to do. Sit down, talk to different people who've done it already, and you'll make the right choice. So when someone asks you, oh, what is the second chance that you wish you had, you're going to sit up here and say, nothing. I did all the right choices. I made all the right choices.
Yeah, good answer. You know, how many people have a mentor in this room? I have about a dozen. If you don't have a mentor, you should get one. And who's your mentor? Could be anybody, professor, parent, teacher. but everybody should have a mentor. It could be just a good friend. And hey, guys, listen up. And one of the great things that one of my mentors said to me was, life is too short to repeat everybody's mistakes. You're not alone. And what you guys are going through, you could hear over and over and over. I'm listening to Jose tell a story, and for those of you who have seen me speak before, you know, I came from Guatemala illegal too, and we lived the same life. I mean, it's almost like a template. So you're not alone. The advantage that you have is that there are a lot more success stories. And I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about just at this very school, and there's a great support network. There are so many incredible success stories. But to go back to your question about a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance, and a fifth chance, you don't run out of chances. Because your chances, you give them to yourself. You will always have the opportunity to have a second chance, but you have to make that first step. See, there's a wide support network in no matter what you do, but that first step, you have to take. It's just how it is. There's only one of these positions, and any of you can have it. You really can. But you have to make the decision. You have to make the decision to give yourself a second chance, and the skies will open up. But nobody's going to come knock at your door and come looking for you. I think that if there's anything else that you can walk away with, and I'm sorry if that's like a shocker to people, but that's just the facts. That's just attrition, right? And my father always said to me, "Mijo, the world needs ditch diggers too." There's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But you decide. When you make that decision, when you in your mind make that decision, there's nothing that can stop you. Nothing. Only you. But you have to believe that. Right? Because who doesn't want to be a success here? Raise your hand. Who wants to be a failure? Please, let me know.
My man in the green hat over
Yeah,
there.
right?
Raised his hand. All right, I see you, dog. French fries, please.
Here's your first match. I want to see, here's your first match. Yeah, but you know what? That's humor. Humor will save, it's funny. There's nothing wrong with being, humor, but make the decision, and you can have as many chances as you want. Now, one last part about your question is, how can you get a second chance? I mean, if it's a little bit more technical about, you can't afford it, or, you dropped out, or you got bad grades, well, that's a little bit more technical. But at the end of the day, you decide, from where you are to where you want to go. When you make that first step, everything else will fall into place. Thanks. Any other questions?
Who's the next question?
I think he already knows I know this answer, but how did you get the push to get involved in your college, and then how did that help shape your educational goals?
All right, so right before I even get to the college part, when I was in high school, at the end of my sophomore year, beginning of my junior year, I had this wonderful girl who became my girlfriend, and she started making me more into academics. My coaches would start keeping me late, and I started doing better. So there was the first time I noticed, like, wow, if I seek help, people are actually going to give it to me. So when I got here to RVCC, there was a guy, he's a counselor still here, his name is Jeffrey Warren. He was very close with my coach, Coach Black here at the time. He was the basketball coach. And he would come to the practices and sometimes see us practice and stuff like that. And he said, yo, just come through my office one day and, I want to get to know you. I want to help you out, you know what I mean? He wanted to be my counselor. So I went to his office, and he told me about all these different clubs and programs. And, at that time, I was still in that mindset, like, hey, I'm just trying to ball. I'm going to the NBA. When I was 17 years old, I thought I was going to go to the NBA, by the way. I think all of us in high school have those aspirations to become pro. And then once we get to college, it kind of smacks us in the face like, damn, dog, you're not that good. So, so when I went there, he was just like, all right, this is what you got to do. I want you to start getting involved. And I was just like, for what, man? I'm already involved. I'm playing basketball. That already is enough as it is. And he said, no, you have to do a little more. So we did this club called Brothers Helping Brothers. And it was for African-American and Latino students. And it was just for us to build a network to help each other out. Throughout that time, he saw that I did better in my first semester of classes. He was actually the one that brought me to President Crable, who started the student worker jobs. and at the same time gave me the scholarship. So when Aaron asked questions like, hey, you know what I mean, how did you get more involved? It was all because I found one person on campus to connect with. You know, and then he introduced me to Aaron, then he introduced me to Donnie, then he introduced me to Dave. Then I started getting to know a lot of other people on campus. And once you get so comfortable in a location and you like it there so much, you start thinking, man, if I fail, I can't go back there. I really like it there, so therefore I can't fail. So the more you get involved, the more likely you're gonna do well, because you're not gonna wanna stop seeing those friends. You're not gonna, they were my friends. This is the first time I had, you know, so-called old people. Now I'm an old person too, but so-called old people as my friends, you know what I mean? So it was just something that made me want to stay here. What's up? I know, you guys were probably like in 7th, 8th grade when I was just starting here, so it's crazy. I'm old now. But yeah, so as long as you get close to one person, like he used to, the sir was talking about just a second ago, you have to have mentors. He was kind of like my mentor. He was my counselor, but he was my mentor. And once I got involved with him, he got me involved with everybody else. And once I got involved, I didn't want to leave this place. I couldn't drive, right, because I didn't have a license. So one of my teammates, David Parker, had class at 7 o'clock. So he'd pick me up from my house at 6:30. My class wasn't until 10, all right? I would sleep in the library. I looked like I was homeless. For like 2.5 hours, people just be walking back and forth. I was just chilling there sleeping. And then I would go to class at 10:30. I would work throughout the middle of the day, go to class in the afternoon, and then go to practice at night. I wouldn't get out of practice till 9:30, and that's when my mom would pick me up to go do our part-time. We used to clean a lab. So I was here from like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning until 9:30 at night, and I loved it. And that's all because I got involved with one person. So if you guys do the same thing, you guys don't have to stay here that long. You know, I was a little OD with it, but you know what I mean? You guys can go ahead and do the same thing and do well. And mind you, by the way, I know I sounded awful before when I said I 1.0 in high school. I have a 3.7 now in my master's program, so I don't want you guys to think I'm a bum. All right.
That was actually a very important part that you just said. He's in his master's. So that's well above and beyond.
Hello, I have one question. More of advice to give to an incoming freshman. Like for a student who perhaps had very low GPA in high school, what advice would you give them? What habits should they pick up in college so they could be a great student?
All right, so the first thing, and I know this is about to blow you guys away. Are you guys ready for this? Is everybody paying attention? Nod your head like this so I know you guys are paying attention. All right, the most important thing to getting a good GPA, doing your homework. I know, it was crazy when they told me about it too. But no, honestly, it really is crazy because I started doing my homework and then I started going into the test and I'm like, yo, I know this. You know what I mean? And it was wild because every time I went into test, it was just like, damn. And that's it. That's where it ended. I wrote my name and I was just like, I used to, you know when you used to have the Scantron sheets and you have the little, you'd circle it in, you draw your name with the circles, that's what I used to do because I was so bad. But once I got here, I started doing my homework and everything comes to you. So the best thing to do from going from a bad GPA to a good GPA is putting in the time. You're going from a lazy person to someone who's motivated and wants to do their work. Do your homework. Number one thing. They always tell you here at the very beginning, at the orientation, Dave, you will hear him preach it all the time. For like every hour of class, what is it, like 2 hours of homework? They're not lying. And if you do it, I'm telling you, you're going to get into some very high schools because once you do that, your GPA is just going to boost up. Or you're going to have so much knowledge about just everything that you're not going to settle for anything lower than what you know you're capable of.
Can I just add, everybody in this room, you are so much smarter than you think you are. You really, really are. Everybody, for some reason, like an idiot, I let somebody convince me that I wasn't a good writer. And for years, I was afraid to write. And then I got a position training salespeople around the world in English and Spanish. And my boss at the time, Jeffrey Gittimer, says, well, you have to start writing on a column, a weekly column. And I'm like, I can't write. For years, I was convinced I was a good talker, but I couldn't write. Until I sat down one day and I just said, I could do this. And I started writing. And I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. And these columns, you know, if you go to his website, you'll see my column every once in a while because there's several of us around the country. And they get sent around the world. And people started emailing me from New Zealand, from Japan, saying, you know, I really understood what you were saying. And thank you, you know, like your words meant something to me. And all of a sudden I realized, you know what? I'm a great writer. And I am a writer. And it's because you let somebody else in your head define you. Don't ever do that. Life is too short to repeat everybody's mistakes. If there's anything you take away from today is you shape you. Don't let somebody else tell you that you can't. And don't act because they tell you that you can't either. Because, right? Somebody says, oh, I bet you can't do that. And you're like, oh, no, mírame. Right? And when people tell you that that you can't do something, what they're really saying is they can't do it. And so they're trying to convince you on their fears. And then you act on them. I did it, right? Somebody tells you can't do something, you're like, watch. And then you go off and act off of their fears to do something that you may not really want to do, right? But because they told, oh, but he told me I couldn't do it. And you believe it, and you go and act on it. Don't. Don't let anybody else shape you. Sorry. Go ahead. Next question.
Our wonderful advisor has a question.
But this question is, I guess, for Eddy. I know that sometimes people make wrong choices of their careers, and then they go from one career to another, one job to another, and you have an extended list of different things you did, and you know, I just wanted you to
talk about that.
Talk about that.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, I did a lot of things, not all mistakes, but basically, I have had, you know, sometimes when people look at my resume, they'll say like, man, you lived like 3 lives, because I've always done what I wanted to do, right? Who doesn't want to do lo que me dé la gana, right? I've always done that. I've always done that, and so should you, positively, and you'll make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Understand this. There's 2 types of people in this world, okay? It's very simple. There's the type of person that knows what they want and hasn't gotten it yet and is frustrated because of it, and you're out there every day working on it. And then the other type of person is a person that doesn't know what they want, but they're unhappy with where they are today. And they're making everybody else miserable because they don't know what they want. So that's it. You either know what you want or you don't know what you want. You're happy where you're at or you're not happy where you're at. Those are the 2 choices. So I've always pursued my interests. And just to, you know, rattle down some of them, you know, when I went I dropped out of college because I couldn't afford it, and I joined the Army, and I figured, let them pay for it, right? Let my Uncle Sam pay for it. So I enlisted in the Army. But I wasn't happy as a soldier. I wasn't happy as a private. I wasn't happy digging ditches in Korea because I was artillery, so, you know, you have to dig ditches and pull duty. So within 4 years, I became an officer. So you don't have to accept with the decisions or the position that you're in. You can change that. And it was the same thing. And then when I got out of the Army and I started going to school here, I loved it here. But I wanted my 4-year degree. So I finished here in 3 semesters and went to the College of New Jersey. And then graduated with my degree in international business. And then I was working for the administration of Christy Whitman at the time. When all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I want to go into entertainment. A week later, I quit my job. I went to New York City, and I started working for the 4th largest talent agency, and I was managing artists, singers, actors, people in theater, commercial, everything. I mean, we had all A-list clients. And then I just got tired of it one day, and I went into banking. I wanted, you know, I was good numbers. I never believed I could write, so I said, you know, let me say numbers. And I went into finance. I did mortgages. I did commercial loans. I learned all that business. And I excelled at it. I was very good at it. And then I wanted to be a inspirational speaker, like a motivational speaker. See, because how I differentiate it is that if you're inspired, you'll be motivated, right? If you're inspired, you'll be motivated to do anything. But if you're motivated, you're not always inspired. Because if I tell you, get that done or you're fired, you'll be motivated to get it done, but that's motivation out of fear. And you should never let fear motivate you. See, inspiration comes out of love, out of something that you want to do. And then it was the same thing. So I went into banking. Then I left that. And I excelled at it. And then I left that. And then I wanted to be a trainer. I went to a presentation like this. I saw Jeffrey Gitomer talk to 1,000 people. And I was like, oh, my God. Rushed the stage right afterwards, my little book. And I'm like, can you sign my book? And all I said to him was, who's doing this in Spanish? And he's like, you should. And I was like, okay, está bien? Okay, I could do it. Now, you know, he meets thousands of people a year. He just said it in passing. I took it as an order. So I went to his next 5 seminars, bought all the books, consumed them, and after every presentation, I'd rush the stage. I'm like, hey, soy yo otra vez, what's up? And now he calls me the Gitomer Globetrotter Stalker Boy, but no, he doesn't call me Stalker Boy. But that's my title, the Gitomer Globetrotter. If you go to eddymayén.com, you'll see it. And that's what I do. I still do that every once in a while. And then I'm on a plane, I'm getting off the plane, when all of a sudden I get a call from the governor's office. And they said, listen, we're putting together this international team, and we need somebody to lead it. So somebody that's got military experience, that understands numbers, that is international himself, that has a degree in international business, that's a Jersey boy. See, because at the end of the day, it's about being prepared. Now, I couldn't anticipate this with all the other experiences. But I didn't let anyone or anything stop me in any one of those things. So you don't know what you do today and how it's going to impact you tomorrow. You really don't. But I will tell you this. Without your education, without my degree, none of it would have been possible. There is no way. That I can assure you.
Bless you.
Bless you. So all of you that are in the room, again, you're not alone. There's so many experiences, and everybody here will tell you the same thing. So many things have opened up in my life and in other people's lives because of the level of education that we've been able to attain. And your master's, bro, I'm impressive. Really, congratulations. So.
Okay, who has the next question?
You guys got a half hour left with us.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
One thing I learned through doing orientations and teaching is that someone has a question, but they're afraid to ask it, but at least 5 other people have the same question typically. So don't be afraid. Be the one who stands out.
So write it down. If you don't want to ask it, write it down.
And we'll
Somebody will pick it up.
Does anybody have any issues going on right now that you guys want to talk about?
Absolutely.
Maybe we have the experience too. Oh, my man. There you go. That's probably the best. Hey, at least he tried.
Can I ask a question of the room? How many people here, you would be the first person in your family to graduate from college if you completed? Look at that. Isn't that impressive? Now, just think about that. Think about what that says about your family, that one day they'll be like, man, that was the person, the pioneer in our family, the first one to graduate from college. I'm the first military officer in my family. My brother graduated before I did from college. And it's just, you know, I have 5 brothers and sisters, and we came here the same way, mojados, and we were here literally way back when. I didn't meet my dad until I was 2 because in the earthquake in '76 in Guatemala, my father came here. He was washing dishes in Bound Brook, and we lived at the Bound Brook Apartments, by the way, until we moved to a pizzeria on top of a pizza place. And we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. My 5 brothers and sisters in one room, my parents in actually 4 of us, and my brother was a baby in the other room with my parents. But my father wanted to live in Bridgewater. But I used to play football on T Street in Bound Brook. So I used to have to walk down, and they didn't know. So I'd walk down. We used my aunt's address after we left the Bound Brook Apartments, and I have to walk across the cemetery every day to go to football practice over in Pop Warner. And then that was it. But out of my 5 brothers and sisters, all 5 of us are college grads. All 5 of us. My brother, West Virginia, me at the college in New Jersey, Stephen at William Patterson, Audrey at Rutgers, and Karen at Fairleigh Dickinson University. 4 out of the 5 of us went through Raritan Valley and saved ourselves thousands and thousands of dollars. And to this day, my mother still cleans houses. And my father, very similar to your story, you know, worked on County Line Road at a plastic company. And I don't know if you guys know any of the factories with the plastic, but ese polvo, that dust, it's killer. And it used to break my heart, see my father sucking in that. And people always say, don't ever forget where you came from. And I tell them, I've never forgotten because I've never left. I still live with my mom, right? Eva, Rose, and everybody here, personal friends of mine, they were at my wedding. So don't think that, you know, I mean, this is how I dress for work. But my father used to always tell me these three things. I got to tell you this. He'd say, always dress better than the person you're going to see. Mijo, tough love is still love. So my father is very strict. Right? He was military. He wasn't an officer, but he was military. So always dress better than the person you're going to see. Tough love is still love, and shut up when I tell you to. That one was tough. Yeah, that one I had a hard time with. But years later, I found out that what he was really saying was, you know, listen before you talk, right? And how many times everybody just talks before they listen? And the younger you are, the quicker you think you got the answer. But I'm telling you, if you listen better than you speak, you'll hear a lot more. You have a question, ma'am? Miss?
Hi, I'm Patty. I'm from Central. Something I'm really afraid of when it comes to college is, of course, I'm probably not going to reach the goal, like having all the financial needs, but like college loans, I want to like know your experience with college loans and like loan repayment.
Okay. Take that one. All right, so college loans, since I was the first person in my family to go to college, I signed up for the wrong one. And it sucks because instead of paying after I was done with college, I had to pay while I was in college. And you know, you guys are gonna know her name. She is the meanest lady you'll ever meet, Sally Mae. Okay? You guys don't know about her yet, but wait until you guys get to know her. She is not nice. All right? Sally Mae is the company that gives everybody loans, by the way, so you guys know. So I set up my loan when I went to Montclair State because I didn't have to when I was here because I was blessed by getting the scholarship. So I start with Sally Mae. I register for the loan, and then they tell me, and then like 2 months later, I get a bill. I'm like, oh, they're so wrong. Like, I'm about to send this back. They don't know what they're talking about. So I call them up, and they're like, no, you signed up for the pay-as-you-go one. And I was just like, great. All right, so now I got to pay for my loan while I'm going to college. I mean, I always worked throughout college. I always had 2 jobs, and I'm doing my parents part-time. So it wasn't that bad, but it was just something that hit me hard. That I mean, I could have done so many more things with my time than picking up those extra hours while I was in college to pay for that loan. All right, so make sure that you go and talk to people like Erin. She'll break it down for you to the T, and you'll register for the correct loan. But it's not something to be completely afraid of. Since I did come to RVCC, like he was saying before, we don't have as much loans, or we don't have to pay as much. You cut the tuition in half, and I even cut it by more than that. When I went to a 4-year school, I became an RA, so they paid for another half. So all I really paid for was 1 year of school. And what I did personally was, as of now, I've saved up money, and I try to pay it in full. Because a lot of times, if you keep paying it little by little, which there's nothing wrong with that, but the interest accrues so much that you end up paying so much more than what you actually took out. So it's not something to be completely afraid of, but if you make yourself knowledgeable in the actual loan and talk to your someone in financial aid or an advisor to help you out with it, you'll be fine. So it's not something to be petrified of, but it's something that you should be aware of and educate yourself in.
I'm just going to step in here for a minute just to give you some little loan information. We don't do Sally Mae loans here, so just so you know, we'll start with that. You just really have to be wary of what you're looking at. You have to pay attention to the forms that you're filling out. You don't just go in blind and just say, oh, yeah, I'm going to sign up for this. So when we talked about the FAFSA before, that's the very first application you should be filling out, and you should be looking for all your government loans. But like I said, what we'll do here first, we're always going to look for grant money first. And we don't automatically process loans here, so we'll send you out information that says, hey, you're not grant eligible, but here's your loan options. And we'll give you the links to the correct loans to borrow. Obviously, at your 4-year schools, it is going to be a little bit different. Loan debt is not necessarily bad. I mean, you're borrowing loans for your education. You just have to be really careful about how much you borrow. You know, you don't want to overborrow just to say, oh, so I can have this money in my pocket, because you do have to pay it back. I mean, to let you know, I've been out of school for 12 years. I'm still paying back my loans, but it was an investment. And student loan debt is actually a good type of debt to have. You just want to be limited in the amount of debt that you have. But like Jose said, you know, you start here, you're not borrowing the loans here. You know, you're really saving the money, you know, here or another community college. You're saving the money there so that you don't have to borrow those loans. And that's something I wanted to say. Both Eddy and Jose said. Eddy said he had to drop out for financial reasons. Jose said doing the FAFSA was the worst 2 hours of his life. You know, there are options, but don't let finances stand in the way of going to college and getting your education, because there are options, especially if you come here. Come and talk to one of us. We will help you figure it out.
Yeah, I'm probably not the best example, because when I graduated from the College of New Jersey, I got a check for $117 back, because the GI Bill was more than what my education cost. That wasn't the case in the beginning, because when I got accepted, I went to Kutztown for, you know, 1 semester, and everything I had ever earned in the pizza place, in newspapers, when I used to sell, everything went in that 1 semester, and I think it was just gas driving back and forth. But so I decided to have some fun with it. So when I enlisted in the Army, when I got out in the GI Bill, I also stayed in the National Guard. And real technical, in New Jersey, if you go to a state school, tuition is waived if you're in the New Jersey National Guard. So it kind of offset here. Then the GI Bill picked up everything else. When I went to the College of New Jersey, same thing, state school, tuition waived, and the GI Bill. So but I wanted to have some fun with it. But as before I graduated and the bills were piling up and everything, I was like, who cares? Who cares? The people that raised your hand before that, you're going to be the first person to graduate from college in your family's history. Can you put a price on that? I mean, that alone. So I'm not making light of it. You should be well educated, and do not let the finances and outweigh the value of the education. It's, you know, you can't compare them. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Get your education. You will find a way. Exactly, and there's scholarships. And even when you graduate, right, it goes by income. So you know, if you're not, you know, if you're not doing exceptionally well as soon as you graduate, I mean, you can appeal it, right? I started to draft my letter, Dear Miss Sally Mae. And you can appeal it, so you get like a payment plan, an extension plan. I mean, that should.
Payment options. You know, the standard that you'll see is a 10-year repayment. But don't think that, oh, I get out of school and I just have to pay all my loan up front. It's not. It's a monthly repayment. You know, when I first got out of college, I took a job. I was making, I think, $13 an hour, and I couldn't repay the loan. So I did a 15-year repayment and an income-sensitive repayment. So I ended up paying, I borrowed just over $20,000 in loans, and I ended up paying a little over $100 a month. So, I mean, I could have now paid more, but, you know, then other expenses come along with kids. And but they, you know, those are the things. There's a 15-year, there's a 25-year, there's income sensitive, there's forbearance, there's all different kinds of options out there for you. You just want to make sure that you do your own research and that you pay attention and make sure that you're doing the government loans before you're doing the private loans.
It's a very good question. It shows that you're thinking ahead, but I wouldn't, you know, put too much stress on it. There'll be help. I'd be more worried about what Jose said earlier. When am I going to find the time to do my homework? Because everybody's going to want to have a job. Everybody's want to be out with their friends and everything. You know, set those hours aside. Don't worry about the affordability.
All right, so before we get the next question, you guys are starting to look like you guys are going to fall asleep. So before that happens, how many people in here have rhythm? A little bit of rhythm. Raise your hand. None of you? Not even one? No rhythm? All right. So this is what I'm going to do, right? You guys are just going to follow me just one time. I promise you I won't bother you guys like this again, make you guys do anything else for the rest of the time. We only have like 15 minutes left. I just want to make sure you guys don't fall asleep. So I'm going to do something, and after I do it, I just want you guys to copy it. You guys just have to mimic me, okay? Just one time. Ready? We're ready. Ready? Come on, everybody. All right, good. All right, that's all I want to do, just one time. It was just for one time. I usually do it with the groups that come in, and they get so rowdy that I can't talk because they're so loud over me. So I start doing that, and then they all go crazy, and they get back into it. The only reason I did is because I see that you guys are starting to fall asleep. I really advise you guys, because you guys are going to have another one of these panels later on with 3 more speakers, to ask questions, to think things about right now, to be able to ask them questions later, because these are the type of people that you want to ask questions to. We went through all of the There you go. All right. See, don't even talk. The whole point of it was to get you guys to talk, not to start talking again. All right. So just so you guys know, I really want you to think about this, because I know when I was in high school, I was the same way. I really didn't care much, you know. And I see people around here, some people that I know Julian over there, I know his cousin, you know what I mean. And it's stuff that we really don't think about, but we have people, we network. Like me, Julian, I never thought I would have seen him here, but he's right here. So I'm sure you guys have people in your lives that you guys can ask questions to. And if you guys don't, you guys have us right now to ask as many questions as you want. And we're going to tell you guys exactly what happened to us, so you guys don't have to go through the same stuff. I know your parents tell you that all the time. Now, in regards to before, when we were talking about, you know, when he said, don't let people tell you what you are, okay? When I was in high school, I was the class clown. My senior year picture, I had a clown suit on, and I was making fun of the president for my yearbook, okay? So I was the class clown, you know, and that's what everybody knew me as. So therefore, that's what I was. Everybody's like, oh, Sticks. My nickname Sticks because I'm really skinny. So when I used to play football in the pads, my 2 legs looked like sticks when I was running. So that's why everybody calls me Sticks. If you go back to my town, nobody knows Jose. Everybody knows Sticks. They'd be like, hey, where's Jose at? We don't know that guy. There's like a million of us down there. They don't know him. So, yeah, which one, Jose or Jose B? So what I'm trying to tell you guys is now when I go back there, I'm just going to brag just a little bit because I am a little proud of myself now. When I go back to the park, you know, I play ball all the time. That's like my favorite thing to do. That's my stress reliever. You know, as you get older, you still find things that you like to do. It doesn't mean that the kid in you has to go. Like, I'm a big kid. Like, I'm the biggest kid you ever know. So when I go to the park, everybody in high school never expected me to pull up to the park the way I pull up now. When my friends go to the park, I see them come up walking or on their bikes, like bicycle. You know what I'm saying? The same dudes that I went to high school with. And it's just, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. You do what you do. You decided to go through a different path. I was in that same exact path with them, but I decided to go a different way. So now when I pull up in my car or I pull up in my motorcycle, everybody, when I get there, oh, here comes Big Time Sticks. That's what they call me. And I'm not big. I just decided to do something completely different to what they did. I decided to, instead of going to the park pool at 5 o'clock at night, leaving here early to film my classes, to go play some basketball, I stayed instead. You know what I mean? And these are all things that you guys need to do as well. You know, I always talk about sports because that's what I'm similar to. That's why I know. You know what I mean? You guys are probably different. Everybody has their own story. But at the end of the day, don't, like he was saying, don't let people tell you you're nothing. You know what I'm saying? Me and Julian's cousin, if anybody, for all you guys, his name is Julio. He goes to Columbia University for his PhD. We graduated the same year. And when they used to look at both of us, Julio was always a decent student. I wasn't. But we were just basketball players. We were just the dumb athletes, basically. You know what I mean? They didn't think that we were going to do anything with our lives. And now look at us. Out of everybody in my high school, I graduated with like 130 people. We're one of the few people who got a bachelor's. And definitely even less who getting a master's and a PhD. He already has his master's. He finished it in a year. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, we were the dumb athletes. Another problem that I always had was everybody always has that stigma about RVCC. Oh, that's the 13th grade. He's stupid. Everybody thought. That's what I thought too, because that's what everybody said. When I was graduating high school, they put a board right by the principal's office that said every person who was going to a university, there was no names of people going to RVCC, which was like half of the class. But they only put people who were going for 4-year schools. I took that as a hit to me, like, wow, so we're not important enough. Like, we're going to community college, so therefore we're not important enough to be up on the wall. And all those people, a decent amount of them graduated, but more than not, either quit or came back to RVCC. The same kids that I saw up on that wall, they quit or came back to RVCC. And they always look down upon RVCC. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that that's going to be you guys. You guys are going to go to a 4-year school. If you can, go ahead. It's a blessing. Simple process, good. But if you come to RVCC, it doesn't make you any less of a person. How does it make you less of a person when my classes at RVCC were harder than the classes that I took at Montclair State University? at the same time, I graduated with half of the loans of people that graduated with the same exact degree. People that went from my high school to Montclair State, when they got their bachelor's, it said their name under it. When I got my bachelor's from Montclair State, it said my name under it. We just took different routes, but we all got the same outcome. So that's something that I wanted to let you guys know. When people make fun of you, because I mean, I would just laugh it off like, Stacey's going to RVCC, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And half of them didn't even know I was going to RVCC because I wasn't planning on going to college. They were like, oh, what are you going to do? I was like, nothing. When people used to ask me stuff, they used to be like, man, what are your expectations? I don't set expectations because I don't want to be let down. That was my answer. Why would I set an expectation when I thought I couldn't make it? And you know why I thought that way? Because they told me I was the class clown. I was the dumb athlete. I was the person that wasn't going to do anything with their lives. But yet I went above and beyond and showed them up all wrong. And now when I get there, I don't get there, with a cocky attitude. But I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, oh, when I pull up in my motorcycle and they're like, damn, here comes Big Time Sticks. It doesn't feel good. Because, yes, it feels good. I worked my ass off to make sure that I get to where I'm at now. So make sure that you guys have that same mentality. You guys will all have your friends. And sooner or later, you're going to start noticing that certain friends are better than others. And hanging out with people who are doing something and going somewhere is going to make you want to do something and go somewhere. And if you hang out with people that don't and just want to hang around in the corner all the time, our spot was 7-Eleven. We used to go and sip on Slurpees every day. They're still chilling there sipping on those same damn Slurpees. Their tongue is like purple now for life.
I was going to add to that. And Eva and Rose, hi, Rose. I've never said this before in any of my presentations, but you inspire me, Jose. And I'll give you an example. You define you. And my ring, when I graduated from college, I couldn't afford my college ring. And even the cheap one, even like the one that's a candy, I couldn't afford it. Even though I got the $127, I was still helping my brothers and sisters go through school. I was taking care of my mother, and long story. But I promised myself, I said, one day I'm going to get my ring somehow, some way. And it's about me. This has nothing to do with anyone else. And so when my wife is from Colombia, and any Colombians here? Man, they got some great gold over there, like 24 karat gold. So I sat down on my first trip with my wife, and this is a couple of years ago because it took a long time, and I designed a ring that I wanted. And it looks like a college ring, but on the one side it has my military and my rank and my cross cannons from artillery, and on the other side it has my degree and my education, and then it says the College of New Jersey and RVCC all over it. And every time I put it on, everything, like you're talking about your motorcycle, it just rushes into me. It's not bling, it's not to show off, it's it's for me, right? And you've never heard me say that before. That is, and I wear it with pride, and I show it off, and that's just how I remind myself every morning when I put my ring, the struggle and the sweat and the anxiety and the troubles and the pain and the tears and everything that it cost me to put it on. And once I put it on, I feel complete. And there is greatness within everyone. Everybody in this room has greatness within them when you are ready and when you discover it. So don't ever let anybody tell you anything about you that you don't accept. You really don't. You set your own limits. You really do.
And just to add on to that, when you get to a certain place, all the struggles that you're going through right now are going to make you a way better person later on in life. That's something that I promise you. A lot of times people who haven't gone through a lot of things, it's easier for them to let things go and bring things back or become more materialistic. But when you have emotional issues that you've gone through throughout your life and you overcome them, it makes you that much stronger later on. And like he said about his ring, it makes you feel proud about what you've done. Like, I didn't do a ring, but when I was in high school, all I ever wanted to do was get an earring. All I ever wanted to do. My dad would not let me he said, you get an earring, I'll buy you girl clothes. That's all he said. You get an earring, girl clothes. If I got an earring, that's all he was going to do was buy me girl clothes. When I graduated high school, because it was such a shocker to everybody, he let me get my earring. At that point, I decided, you know what, every time I accomplish something, I'm going to do something for myself as a reminder. So high school, I got an earring. My associates, I got my first tattoo. For my bachelor's, we're still working on the second one. You know what I mean? And for my master's, I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's just something that when I look in the mirror, it reminds me, it's not the earring or the actual tattoo or any of that, or the the tattoos I have. It's more about the fact that that tattoo right there or that earring right there was because I accomplished something or I did something. For him is his ring. And all of you guys are gonna have those things. For you guys, some of you guys might be your certificate up on the wall or your diploma, whatever it might be. And you guys are gonna look back on it and be like, I'm proud.
It's something unique for you, right?
Definitely.
There is no other ring on this earth that's similar, because after he made it, I took all this stuff and it wouldn't be of interest to anyone else anyway. It's one of a kind. That's what I mean. It's got to be something that's personal to you. And I remember reading one time as you were saying that, there's a great saying that I read once, and I don't know who the author was, but it said, through adversity comes strength. So think about that. Through adversity comes strength. Your struggles will shape who you are later on. Just don't let them defeat you, period. One more.
My name is Amber, and my question is, what do you do when your family wants you to follow their dreams and not your own?
That's a good one.
It's a great question.
That's a great question.
Great question.
All right, so my dad, the only school he knows in this entire country, the only university is Rutgers. That's the only university he knows. That's the only name. So when I was about to transfer from RVCC, he just kept saying Rutgers, Rutgers, Rutgers. That's all he knew. That's the only university he knows. And don't get me wrong, Rutgers is a great school, but I live like 10 minutes away from Rutgers. If I went to Rutgers, I had to stay home. I don't want my parents knowing what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? I want to go away. I want to be me. So I applied to 4 schools. I applied to Monmouth, NGIT, Montclair, and Rutgers. I made it into all 4. Now, my dad only saw 1 letter come home. He didn't see the rest of the acceptance letters come home. He saw Rutgers. So he sat down with me. He's like, listen, Rutgers, mind you, this man does not know anything about school. He's like, listen, you're going to Rutgers, right? And I'm like, I'm just going to go look around. You know, Rutgers is a possibility. So I went to a couple of the schools. And what I did to show him that maybe his dream wasn't my dream is I learned as much as possible about the school that I really wanted to go to. So when I went to a Montclair State open house, I learned everything I could about the business school. Like, hey, it's top ranked. This is where it's located. It's close to the city. It has a train inside of it. I can get to internships there. It's a great, area for business, for a business student. So that way when I came back and he kept talking about Rutgers, every time he would say something about Rutgers, I'd be like, oh, yeah, but Montclair has this. Oh, but, but Rutgers has that. Oh, yeah, but Montclair has this. And that's all I kept saying. I just kept telling him about all the good things about Montclair. And after a while, he was just like, all right, I guess Montclair is not that bad. And he got into it. And then he was all about Montclair too. So a lot of times what you have to do is not just completely argue with them, like, oh no, I don't want to go there. Don't argue about not wanting to go somewhere. Argue about how something else is so much better for you. And once you hit them with that point of view, they're going to be more willing to open their eyes into that. Because now you're not arguing with them and saying no, you're just showing them another option and educating them on something that might be better for you.
Yeah, that's I was just writing down as you were talking. I think my first question would be, and I know exactly what you're saying, my first question would be, why? Why do you want me to live your dream? Why can't I live my dream? And wait for that answer and write it down. Because see, if you are clear in what you want and you're going in the right direction, it's going to be hard for them to argue. But if you're wandering, then it's not so much, then it may not be so much, I want you to live my dream. It's, I think you're going the wrong way. Or I estoy preocupado that you don't know what you want. And so they're forcing their, views on them. But I'm fortunate because my parents, when they came here, they said, look, we have nothing. We have nothing for you to inherit. We have nothing for us to give you. We have nothing. The best that we can do for you is put you in this country, the land of opportunity. And they're like, it's up to you guys. So, we weren't forced. And that's why the sky's the limit. But I would clearly ask why. Why do you want me to live your dream? And the more you know about what you want, the easier it will be to combat it. And just be like, this is what's best for me. Don't be afraid, Don't be afraid. Everybody has to live their dream. Don't be that person that I told you that doesn't know what they want and is unhappy with what they have. You clearly should know. And it could be that you want to be a ditch digger. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. but as long as you know you want to do that. Thanks.
We're almost near the end of this first panel discussion. I just want to thank again Mr. Mayén and Mr. Salazar for sharing their experiences and their wisdom.